Committee meeting to order, our second meeting of the year. Good to have everybody here today. I've got two bills on our agenda. Yes, and whatever else Senator Albers may have.
I was just wondering, seeing as we got a kind of a light load and we can get things right on the floor, if we might be able to pull Senate Bill 163 to help our small brewers and loosen up those alcohol licenses and put that on here today as well.
Well, we didn't have enough fun on Tuesday. You want to liven it up, see if everybody's here today? I guess we will have our affected lobbyists will come. Do you see KC or
they're
Martin
not even here
Smith or
today.
anything?
Must not be
All right, well,
important.
I'll move that to the bottom of
Thank
the
you.
list, but we will begin with a couple of easier things before we dismantle the three-tier system. Without having to go through the Rules Committee. This will be fun. I have just a couple of here for us, and these are both bills that passed out of committee last year and passed out of Rules Committee and were put on the Rules calendar for day 40. And they just didn't get reached. There was no decision made not to call them up. It was just a timing element. I don't believe either are controversial, but we will plan to take action on these today if there's the will of the committee to do so, since they're bills that we've already dealt with. The result of that is that they will be, the committee report would be read tomorrow, and I would anticipate that they'll be on the calendar the Monday after our budget week, if that's what you gentlemen want. If you do not, let's at least discuss them today so that we're in a posture where we could act on these quickly on the Tuesday following the budget break. Senator Lucas, so glad you could join us today.
I know you are.
All right. Oh, we do have an alcohol lobbyist that suddenly has appeared here. All right, you better call your friends. Yeah.
Hey, her at the top.
So we will call House Bill 455, Representative John LaHood. If you'll take that microphone, we'll light you up there and on the podium. Just give us a brief overview. It's just a very few pages, and remind us what you had before us last year.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee, for having me back. And I presented this bill fairly late in the session last year. It did pass the committee unanimously, non-controversial. But this is basically creates a safe haven for physicians and other credentialed healthcare workers to go seek services such as counseling to combat burnout and career fatigue, which is a documented, known problem. And so, in this era, when we're battling, a tough workforce crisis, healthcare is not immune to that. And what we want to do is create a safe place and encourage physicians and other healthcare workers to go seek help and stay in the game instead of silently suffering and compromising their ability to render good services.
So is there something that blocks that now, or how does this make that a safe place or easier for the confidentiality? Give us if you could direct me to what we do here, just that they don't have to report.
Correct.
Treatment. Okay.
So the counselor, for example, that would be seeing the physician is not required to report to the licensing board unless they see a reasonable, unless there's a probable cause for them to think this would put any of their patients at risk.
So it encourages healthcare professionals to seek help without fear of it jeopardizing their licensing or their reputation.
Correct.
I like that. Are there questions from the committee? Senator Ginn, you number 3, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Chairman LaHood, I appreciate you, Bill. I'm kind of curious. I don't know how the medical profession does their licensing, but does this same board, is that the board that would, require continuing education or anything like that? And does this exempt them from any continuing education that they may be moving forward with, or requirements in that regard?
It would not exempt them from any continuing ed. let's see, on line 18, it defines what licensing board means, and it lists the Georgia Board of Nursing, Georgia Composite Medical Board, State Board of Pharmacy. Those are the professions that would be covered. But no, it does not exempt them from any continuing ed.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just, I know if we look at other professions, each one of them has a board, and sometimes they have to have a reporting on different things, whether their continuing ed's up to date and things there. So I just want to make sure that we're not, it's mainly for healthcare.
Good question, and no, I don't see where this compromises or reduces the requirement to keep their license at all. This just helps to keep them, like I said, in the game, and removes that fear of putting their license in jeopardy because they're basically seeking help for career fatigue
Yeah.
or burnout.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if you're ready, I'll be glad to make a
Well,
motion.
let's see if anybody else has a question first, but I'll be ready pretty quickly. Anybody else have questions for the author of the bill? All right, then I will recognize you, Senator Ginn, if you have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I do pass LC 339399, House Bill 455.
We have a second from Senator Rett. Is there any discussion on the do pass motion? Then what's the pleasure of the members of the board?
We're going to be aboard today. I'll raise my hand.
We were yesterday, or the other day it worked. I thought I'd give it a whirl. I do, Madam Leader. All right, what should we call ourselves today? Do you have a preference?
Privilege.
The Privilege Committee. It is very much a privilege to be on this one. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, please, and let's raise them high enough for our counters to keep count and names. Look at that. It appears to be unanimous. Thank you so much for doing this to help your folks with their burnout so they'll be refreshed and healthy mentally and physically to take care of the patients.
Well, thank you for your consideration, and
We do need a
appreciate
sponsor.
Senator Alberts has agreed to sponsor in the Senate.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe
Thank
you
you.
can come back by the end of the session and put a bill for us for burnout.
I was wondering if we could get confidential treatment, that might be good for us all. I like that. All right, my sweet mate has arrived from his afternoon nap. We are ready to go. I started to slam that door on the way out of the suite and make sure we got you up, but all right, Senate bill now, 205, Senator Rick Williams. Again, we have a bill that passed our committee last year, passed out of Rules Committee and went to the Rules Calendar but did not get reached for action. So it was recommitted to us on Monday, and this has no changes whatsoever from last year. And it's only 2 pages, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Senator, if you'll explain what you got.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a very simple bill. Like Mr. Chairman stated, it passed through last year unanimous. This is just allowing someone who's inadvertently let their license lapse to renew them. And no changes, same bill that's from last year. I think it's LC 365496, is that correct?
That is what we're working off of. Everybody has that in their folders.
Okay, great, thank you, sir. But I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Senator Williams? All right, now's the appropriate time. I recognize Senator Albers for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to pass Senate Bill 205, LC 35, 5496.
36, LC 36.
96.
36.
I thought you said LC 35. It's,
35, 5496. Oh, 36, I'm sorry.
There you go. Got to pay attention to
Put my
details.
my spectacles
All right,
on.
you tell them what you might have just moved to put on the floor there.
Second.
All right, we have a second from Senator Ginn. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor of passage of the motion do pass, Senate Bill 205 LC 365496, will raise your hand, please. All right, and any opposed? Any abstaining? You vote? You gonna abstain there, Luke? All right. Was that a yay or a nay? That's a yay. Then it is unanimous. We have had people sneak out of here and avoid votes, but it's rare that one's bold enough to sit in the seat and just not vote. Couple of
Thank you very
announcements.
much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator, do you have, you're going to carry that yourself, I presume, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll carry it on to the floor.
All
Thank you.
right. I believe it'll be Monday week, but we'll see.
I'll be the pallbearer.
All right. All fun aside, that from Senator Albers and myself early, we are pretty formal in this committee, and it's really just in a interest of fairness to the members of the legislature, the lobbyists that are representing their clients and the general public. There's a rare exception, but almost always we only take up bills on the agenda. And we try our very best to publish it at least 24 hours before our meetings. Our meetings are scheduled, they're preset. The Secretary of the Senate has us down on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock and Thursdays at 2 o'clock. I try to do the more complicated issues on Tuesdays because nobody meets after us in this room, and if we have to run over, to as late as 6 o'clock, we'll do that. We are tightly bound on Thursdays from 2 to 3. In fact, Senator Albert's committee meets at 3 today. Public safety might even be in this same room, is it? Okay. So we're never able to go longer, and it would be an extremely rare thing for a bill to be considered in this committee that you didn't have adequate notice of. We also, Cindy and I and Sean Marie, try our very best, if there is a committee sub, to make copies available and have them in my office 432 for somebody to pick up as soon as they're ready for us. And we note on the agenda that it is a committee sub, so there are changes. And just so you'll know the procedures, and if you're ever wondering, then there won't be just a hall full of rumors on what's going on. That's how we play the game here. We do have a rule that committee subs need to be presented to the chair 24 hours in advance of a meeting. That sounds better on paper sometimes, and then when we get later in the session and things are flying, it's a little difficult. But if it's significant change, we're not going to stick something in front of us that you haven't had time to review and question and come up with proposed amendments. If they're small changes, I encourage members just to bring them as an amendment to the meeting. So you're not guaranteed there won't be changes made on a bill that we're considering, but if it's a significant revamp that requires a committee substitute, we try our very best to let you have notice in advance so you can digest those changes and be prepared to speak to them or ask us questions about those. So we were teasing when we said we're about to dismantle the three-tier system. If there are other, suggestions on how we can better run this committee for our constituents, let us know. We'll do what we can. I was disappointed when we got the pre-notice to you about our committee dinner. That's going to be Tuesday, January 23rd, when lo and behold, the venue, which is the 57th Fighter Group, told us they were hosting the trivia night that night, and we were no longer invited. But they are able to do it on Wednesday. Is it February 7th? Anybody got a problem with that date? If not, save that date now. We have quite a few people have already asked to help us sponsor it. We love you. We got room for many more if you'd like to. We had a great time last year, good food, and actually had a DJ on the dance floor later, and had a lot of good camaraderie, laughed about some of our stories of the various bills that have come through this committee, and love to have your participation again this year. Anything further from committee members would you like to announce before we adjourn? All right. Thanks so much for being here. Meeting adjourned.